Welcome in today. You guys, we are going to be testing out some new and new to me makeup. Here's what's on today's agenda. So I picked up the new Hy-Glam concealer and corrector from Natasha Denona. I think they're both concealers. One is called a correcting concealer and the other one is just a brightening and hydrating concealer. I also picked up Danessa Myricks' waterproof liquid pigment for eye, lip, and cheek. So it's a Colorfix one that's in like a nudie shade. So this is more suited to be used as like a bronzer, where I use the other one that's like this, that's more of a blush color, as a liquid blush. I also picked up a new release from Essence. This is the Baby Got Bronze. I do have the blush stick. I'm still testing it out. I'm not sure I love the formula, and it launched before this bronzer did, so I just recently picked up this bronzer, so we'll try this one on one side of the face. I also picked up another bronzer. This one is from Kiko Milano. This is from their Beauty Roar collection. It's a 2-in-1 cushion bronzer and contour. So I think we'll try like all of these today, just because I have so many, don't want to miss out. I also picked up another one of Danessa Myricks' new releases. This is the Paintbrush Fluid Eyeliner. It's called Linework. Some of the new to me items, you guys, I was in Ulta the other day. I picked up one of these BYO blushes from Youthforia. This looked so interesting. I was able to swatch it and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I don't know if I'm gonna love the formula, but I wanted to give it a shot. It's a color blush oil. I also picked up another one of the Cloud Crush blushes from Too Faced. I've had one in my collection for a while, but it's the one that's in Candy Clouds, which is like kind of like this color. It's just that really pinky bubblegum color that everyone is into. I didn't personally love the shade, so I got me one in Velvet Crush, which is so much more my speed. I loved this formula. I'm also giving Tom Ford's Eye Quads one last chance. This one is in Leopard Sun. So we'll use this as eyeshadow today, but it's not the highlight of the video. So let's just hop right into it. You guys, I think we'll start with the eyeshadow palette first, just because I primed my eyes and didn't put on any foundation. This is the Eye Color Quad from Tom Ford. This one is in Leopard Sun. This isn't available on like Sephora or the Tom Ford website anymore, but it's still available at Saks. Just not overly impressed with the Tom Ford quads that I've been trying. I definitely want to try the cream formula, but because of its price point, like I like to get it discounted and I cannot find the cream ones at a discounted price yet. But this is just such a beautiful fiery color story, and this is like my kind of everyday shadows. I'm just gonna speed through this portion, I think, but all over, crease, outer corner, lid. Here we go. Okay, well, you know, I gave it another shot. This one is basically like a topper. It doesn't have a whole lot of texture to it. It's got a lot of like sparkles. I don't know, it's very thin. It's not super light reflecting, as you can kind of see. And usually when a shimmer is, picking it up on your finger is really the way to do it, but I could tell that it kind of just felt like a topper when I was going in with my finger. I don't know why I keep expecting Tom Ford to be a more pigmented formula, because it's not. As far as like luxury goes in eyeshadows, it's just that subtle light pigmentation, and I don't know why I keep thinking Tom Ford shadows are gonna end up being more pigmented than they are. I liked how it started out. I thought that this color was cool with this one, but then after that, getting to this one, it's just not overly pigmented, so it was a little bit of a letdown. I couldn't really build too much depth. It's nice for every day, but you can get everyday shadows without spending $90. It's just that the color stories, like a lot of them are so beautiful that I feel like I gravitate towards them. Okay, I want to throw on my foundation. I'm going to use the Triclone foundation from Haus Labs. I have not reached for this since I did a speed reviews video, so I'm pulling it back out. I almost like can't remember how I felt about it. So not a new product, just gonna throw this on really quickly. You know, this is actually a little bit more like glowy and dewy than I remember it being. You know, you try so many foundations, you forget. If you don't reach for them again, and you forget how they perform. I still think it like overall kind of has a satin finish, but like I can see definitely a little bit of dewy or sheen kind of on my cheeks. Let's move on into this corrector and concealer. But they're both concealers, I think. Like one is definitely a corrector that she's calling a correcting concealer, but this one only comes in 6 shades, whereas the hydrating or high glam concealer comes in 50 different shades. So I thought we would like try to layer them on top of each other. I think that's what I'm gonna do. Hopefully it works. I have the corrector in the shade C1. Here is the packaging. It's kind of a like rectangle shaped. It's not like perfectly square. It's a pretty hefty plastic. And I think it has one of those like reservoir tips. Yeah, it does. So you can get the product that kind of like sits in that little reservoir. Let's go into the right eye first. This particular shade is meant for like fair skin tones. In the directions, it actually kind of says to like let sit for a couple minutes and then tap with your finger, but I don't think I want to let it sit. This is meant to be like creaseless and super long wearing. I think it's providing a good amount of coverage. I don't know that it's like concealing all of the redness on this eye, and it has a little bit of a tacky finish, or a tacky feel to it rather, but still feels fairly thin. I almost feel like you wouldn't need a concealer on top of it. Because it's so tacky and sticky, I just don't know how like another product would sit on top of it. It definitely didn't smooth out my under eyes. Like it almost feels like, you know, it's kind of sinking into my fine lines almost immediately. I hate to say that, but that's kind of what it looks like. It's not like an overly smoothing formula. Let's not layer the concealer on top of it, and let's go into the concealer on the other eye. This one I'm going to blend in with my sponge this time. This one is in the shade N3. I feel like I like the way that one felt just a little bit more. It was like a thinner formula almost, but it was still tacky, but it just felt like nicer going on, and that could have been my application too. This might be something you don't want to actually bounce in with your finger, that you would bounce in with your sponge a little bit more to kind of soak up the like stickiness. I always say this, well, I don't always say this, but I do say this in a lot of videos. As we're putting on the makeup, we'll see how the concealer sits under my eyes. It's usually a good indicator by the time I'm done putting on my makeup, like how they're gonna wear, because usually if they're gonna crease, they're gonna do it by the time I'm wrapped filming. So in the meantime, I'm going to powder with my Hourglass powder, and then we'll move on into the bronzers. Let's go into the Kiko Milano one first. This is called the Beauty Roar 2-in-1 Cushion Bronzer and Contour. I have mine in the shade 01 Hazelnut. I've been trying a lot of Kiko Milano products lately. If you've watched any of my other videos, I've got like a dedicated video on their Beauty Essentials collection. I have a lot of their lip products that I've been trying that I just think are kind of cool and pretty unique. I'm finding that there's like been a lot of dupes out there for the Charlotte Tilbury contour wands. Kiko came out with this. I mean, of course, nobody is really talking about it that I'm watching, but it's the same puffy applicator. It's, you know, very similar to what Tarte just did. It's very similar to what e.l.f. did and Milani did, and ones that are getting more recognition as being dupes, even Flower Beauty, for example, but I haven't heard anyone talk about this one. They call it a bronzer and a contour. This is not necessarily a shade I would use as a contour, and it's such a liquidy formula. It's really liquidy. Let's see if that helped at all. No, it's still like a really liquidy formula. I'm going to use it up on my forehead today, and only on one side, because I'm gonna use the Danessa Myricks. Oh, my hair is just getting right into it. Because I'm gonna use the Danessa Myricks like on the cheeks. I think because it's so liquidy, I'm just gonna push it in with a brush, because I don't think I want to move this product around by swiping. I mean, it's beautiful, right? Like, don't you guys think it looks beautiful? I think the hazelnut color gives it a little bit of warmth, but on fair skin, I think it looks really pretty. I mean, it was easy to just blend in, and I drew it right onto my face. Again, this is an instance where they call it a bronzer and a contour, and I have to disagree that it's a contour, that it's just a bronzer in this particular shade, especially when you call it something like hazelnut. As it compares to the others, it's a really liquidy formula. None of the other ones were this liquidy. Not the Tarte, not the Milani, not the Flower Beauty, not the e.l.f. This one is just very, very liquidy. It's very thin. It's fully dried at this point. It's nice. It's just a really nice looking bronzer shade. So I'm not mad at that product. I like it so far. Let's go into the Essence Baby Got Bronze Stick. I did mention that I have the blush. Wow, that's a real contour. They should call this Baby Got Contour, not Baby Got Bronze. It's a really, really gray tone. It's so gray, it might be too gray. This one is in the shade Moondust, which I could have sworn was like the lightest shade. I will say with the blush, because I did mention that I got that, the problem with the blush, even though it's really emollient and creamy and goes on easily, I was drawing it on like this to my cheeks, and then I was blending it in. And as it faded through the day, it faded around the edges of where I blended it in, and it looked like just a fat stripe on my cheek, a noticeable swipe. It didn't stay how I diffused it out. It was like the diffused edges faded off. It was not good. It did that like all the times that I was using it. So I'm not gonna do that with this. I'm gonna pick this up with the brush because I do not wanna make that same mistake. I'm gonna pick it up with the e.l.f. Putty Bronzer brush, and I'm going in on the right side, and I'm hoping it's not too gray, but it's definitely a contour shade. It's not a bronze. Just like the blush, this has a really sweet scent to it, which is weird for a bronzer. It smells just like the blush though, which I had in the shade Peach. And it's almost like watermelon, whereas with the blush, I kind of felt like, oh, it smells just like peach or mango right away. And I don't think so. I think they both smell like watermelon. You know what I just realized? I entirely meant to put that up here and not here so I could do Danessa on the cheeks. Well, it's too late now. What do you guys think? I kind of feel like it's a little too gray leaning. We'll have to see how this one wears, because if it ends up being like the blush and everything that I've just blended in turns to just one solid stripe, then I'm not gonna like it. Otherwise, right now it's nice, but I'm gonna set it with powder once we're done putting on blush. All right, let's move on into the Danessa Myricks Colorfix. This is in her Nudes collection. This one is in Nude 3. Guys, I swatched this. I literally couldn't get it off of my hand. It's the same thing with the liquid pigment that she had that was more suited for like blush shades, that a little bit goes an extremely long way. I'm severely scared to swatch it on the back of my hand because last time I could not get this off with Dawn dish soap, no matter how hard I tried. It's such a beautiful consistency. It's like much thinner than the blush, which was almost like whipped. This is very, very thin, very blendable, but also very opaque. Like, it's a nice formula. It's just that when I let it dry down, wasn't coming off. I'm telling you, Dawn dish soap was not getting it off. I think that's how I'm gonna apply it. I just put an extra bit on the back of my hand, and I'm going in with the same putty brush, and I'm gonna bounce this into this cheek. Oh, I like this shade so much better than this one for like contouring. It's just so much better for fair skin. It's really, really light, but it still like shows up on my skin. I am using pushing motions, so I'm not swiping, and therefore it's like not disturbing any of the foundation. It's a fully like matte formula, so it dries down. It's not gonna budge on you. Like, this is completely dry. I'm gonna try and take this off of the back of my hand and see if I have any more success than the first time. The first time I did it was such a thick swatch that I basically covered like my whole hand and I couldn't get it off, but it's coming off this time. Just for the sake of continuity, I'm gonna go back into the Kiko and apply it to this side of the forehead. FYI, I think that I really like that Kiko color. The hazelnut just seems to look really good on my skin. I'm actually going to like just set the forehead really quickly. I think this is definitely like a trickier product, just how I feel about it as blush. I definitely find that it's not an easy formula to work with, and that I have to have a little bit of extra time to use the blush so that I can put it on the back of my hand and kind of bounce it in. They're both really, really matte, really long-lasting formulas. I almost feel like though that I like this one better than I liked the blush. Let's go into the Youthforia BYO blush. This one is in the shade Turn Up the Sunshine. This is such an interesting product. I haven't tried anything from Youthforia. This is like a really orangey color, but as I remember, because it's a color changing like cheek oil, it was kind of more on the sheer side. But then as I started to like wipe it away, it was almost like staining. This is kind of what it looks like. You could wipe off the oils, but it still stains your cheeks. Just kind of an interesting product. I know Hard Candy has something that's like very similar to this, and it wasn't necessarily my favorite. It's just that when I was swatching this in Ulta, I was definitely like intrigued. by its formula. So I think I'm just gonna start with this and kind of stipple it in because I would like to see the pigment carry, but that the stippling helps it to dry down. Yeah, see? It's cool. It's definitely not leaving like the same like oily texture, like a gloss that it does have on the back of your hand. Look how pretty that is. That's really cool. Ah, I like this. It's still sticky though. It has a tack to it, but it was beautiful and easy. I think it's like dot, 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 and just stipple it in and you're good to go. You could set this down because it has good pigment. I probably am just gonna leave it though. All right, let's go into the Too Faced Cloud Crush in the shade Velvet Crush. These are not gonna be the same colors, but that's okay. It seems like, and I have to say that I like this, that the outer packaging matches the shades of all of the blushes from this line. I actually think that's pretty cool. I am so excited about this shade because this formula is honestly so bomb. It's so just like a cloud. It's super airbrushing and really creamy. It smells great, just like Too Faced. I'm just using a powder brush from Rare Beauty, because why not? Just beautiful, beautiful. 2 different shades of blush. Glad that I picked this up. Next, I actually want to try out something I just picked up at the drugstore today. This is just super random, but I really want to try this on. So this is the Wet n Wild MegaGlo Hello Halo Liquid Highlighter. I have to say, I have been into like liquid highlighters just a little bit more than I have ever been before. And I've recently tried like the Danessa Myricks one and the Iconic London one, and both of them really shocked me and I quite enjoyed them much more than I've ever enjoyed a liquid highlighter before. And because this is so inexpensive and also a doe foot applicator, I thought I would give it a shot. The Wet n Wild MegaGlo things, they're so good. Their quality just, I don't know, they really like astonish me for drugstore. So when I saw this at the drugstore today, I was like, yeah, I'm definitely gonna get that. I think that it's like dried down. Like it has a little bit of a tack to it, but I bet you if I keep sitting here, it's gonna dry down to like almost like a powder finish. I think my favorite way to apply this is just with my finger with these liquid highlighters, because I think that just, I don't know, it makes it look the most natural and like seamless. I don't think this one is overly punchy. I think this one's just like, it's still glowy, but it's a lot more natural. And you don't really see like any of the edges to it. So that's just really nice. All right, let's assess the concealer situation. So I don't love this one on the right eye, the corrector, not as much as the concealer. I feel like the concealer was more hydrating and it's not sinking in as much. This is my darker eye, or what I think is my darker eye because of my scar right here. I don't think it's full coverage. I think it's kind of a medium coverage, medium weight. This is definitely like a heavier weight corrector. And I also don't think it gave more coverage than the concealer. I don't know that I love the corrector, I have to say. Next, I'm actually gonna throw on some lashes and then we're gonna go into the Danessa Myricks Linework liner. So I will just throw these on like off camera. These are the Lilly lashes. These are in the style Dreamy. These are just half lashes, but these are some of my absolute favorite lashes at the current moment. So I'm gonna throw these on and we'll be right back. Okay, so I was talking away over here and I forgot to hit the record button. So I just went in after I put on my lashes into the Danessa Myricks Linework, and I started with the eyeliner because these lashes have a thicker band to them, and because they are half lashes, they only go to about right there. So I always have to fill in with liner. I did go in on this eye only, not this one. So it's a really thin brush tip. It's matte black. It dries down almost instantly. It gives a really precise line. Basically everything that you'd want it to do, it does. Or you'd have to like a matte black liner because it's fully matte. There's not even a little bit of sheen. It's really, really long wear. So far it's just really a standout liquid eyeliner in my opinion, because I really just prefer a matte black. I think that it just looks more seamless, especially because I usually only wear it with lashes. All right, I'm gonna go into this eye now. I shook it. It doesn't run out of ink very quickly, so I like that about it. Like you could refresh it as you're like going over the line, and it liked being layered on top of itself. I I never used to get excited about eyeliners or liquid eyeliners, pencil eyeliners, anything eyeliner really, but I mean, most recently I really am enjoying a good quality eyeliner, so I think this was a really good one. I have been trying a lot of Danessa Myricks' stuff. Like, she's had a bunch of new releases lately. Her blush, she's had this, she's had the eyeliner. I guess that's kind of it, just those three things. But all of them I've just really been enjoying, and I think she's mid price point on most of her stuff. I mean, her palettes that she puts out that have those different textures are more expensive. Well, they're in the definite higher price point, but I think the rest of her stuff is relatively like inexpensive for high quality kind of luxury beauty that I associate with her brand. The final product is not like new, but it's new to me. So it's the Maracuja Juicy Lip Cream. I also picked this up at Ulta yesterday. I like the other ones, but this just looked really cool when it was on display. This one's in mauve. It's kind of a different packaging. It's like a brushed metal almost. I did try this already, so it's not like new. Isn't that just a beautiful shade too? It's just kind of like a neutral shade. Mauve is interesting. When brands come out with mauve, they come out with like all different ranges of mauve. I liked this shade of mauve. I think it's very neutral and suits my fair skin very nicely. I like this lip cream, I think, better than the other one, like the Maracuja Juicy Glow. I don't know, because it doesn't slip around, but it's still glossy. So anyway, it was nice. I like having something like this in my collection. It's just cool to like throw into your purse or whatever. Just super flattering. Okay, that was everything, you guys. So let's talk about all of the items that I tried on today. Let's start out with the concealer and the corrector. I have to say, I don't think the corrector is my favorite. It was more of a drying formula. I mean, it definitely didn't stay tacky. I did set it down, but I feel like it sank into my fine lines more than the concealer did. I like the concealer. Like, I'm not getting any kind of creasing on this side. I don't know that you have a use for like the corrector and the concealer. I feel like you can only use one or the other. You wouldn't use both, but I don't really care for this as much as I cared for this in terms of like, I don't know, kind of the way it's just sitting on my under eye. So I would say like, I won't probably use this again. Like, I don't see a purpose for this corrector. I think the concealer was good though. The Danessa Myricks, I was looking at myself as I was kind of like sitting here thinking like, what am I gonna say about this? Doesn't it look like it does have like a really nice shadow? But I almost feel like you can just see it. Like, it doesn't blend in with the blush necessarily as great as I would have liked it to, and so it almost kind of seems like it's contrasting against the blush. And now that I'm looking at the shade, I'm glad that I got this one. I don't think a darker one would have worked. So I don't know about this one. It's definitely an interesting product. I wouldn't use this for my eyes though, but it would stay all night. Like, I could tell you that. I think the one from Essence is a little bit too gray leaning. I'm gonna have to see how this wears at the end of the night, and if like my blush fades or whatever, and then there's just a stripe like these, I don't know. I can see why the blush has kind of mixed reviews online, and I'm just thinking, well, if it performs like the blush, it's gonna get a mixed review from me too. Love this formula from Too Faced. Super good, like blurring cloud-like blush. This lip cream was good. I'm really enjoying it. It's really pretty. This thing from Wet n Wild, it's really nice. You don't even need high-end. Just go to Wet n Wild. I think this was my favorite contour slash bronzer product that I tried today. It was such a beautiful shade for fair skin, and I think I liked the thinner formula, whereas when I was swatching it, I didn't think I was going to, but just the way it applied looks beautiful. And I loved the Youthforia. I thought it was so easy to blend in. It's beautiful. It almost has like a sheen to it. Eyeliner, super bomb. Super bomb, super easy. I think my favorite things for today were the things that I thought that I wasn't gonna like the best. My two very top items were the Kiko Milano bronzer and the Youthforia blush. I think next probably comes the one from Too Faced, but I've already tested this formula. So that was it in a nutshell, you guys. I will be listing everything that I tried today in the description box. If you are new to my channel, I hope you consider subscribing. If you're a current subscriber, hey, welcome back. Nice to see you again. I am out of here, you guys, and I will catch you all in my next video. Bye.